Hey everybody, Yankee here. We've been talking over the last week or so a lot about the new pistol brace ruling from the ATF and how it affects everyone. And you've been getting a lot of false information from one side, information from another side, and you've been having to try to figure out what's true. Well, today I don't want to talk about that. We'll talk about that more later, probably tomorrow before my podcast, because I want to be ready for my podcast tomorrow. But today I want to talk about what I consider to be the true victims of this ruling. And that is people who live in states where you can't get a tax stamp, where you can't have an SBR. They have very restrictive assault weapons bans. And they don't have the option of getting a tax stamp. And I am not unsympathetic to these people because I live in a state where an assault weapons ban is proposed every year. Every year we have to deal with that. Now, it never passes, and I'm hoping this year won't be any different, but you never know. But if it did pass here in the state of Washington, if you had put in a Form 1 already, and it passes and goes immediately into effect, well, the ATF would have no choice but to cancel or reject every single Form 1 application. They'd all be turned down. Now, don't worry, that wouldn't mean you'd all be felons. It would just mean you're not given permission to manufacture that weapon. You'd have to make it compliant. They can't come after you. We'll cover that more tomorrow, but they cannot legally even come after you. So you don't have to worry about being a criminal. You just would not have the option of having an SBR. You'd have to destroy your pistol brace, or like I said, put it on something compliant. Which, why would you put it on something compliant? Why would you put a pistol brace on a rifle? That's stupid. Just put a stock on it. So there are people that are suffering from this. And I'm not going into whether people are being compliant or not compliant. Believe me, the people in the states that have assault weapons bans, in my opinion, have every right to be non-compliant. And if someone, like I said, files charges against them, I'll help pay your legal fees. Promise you that. But like I was saying, that's one thing a lot of people aren't talking about. A lot of people live in states where they don't have this option. They don't even get to decide whether they want their free tax stamp or not. The government is just saying, you have to destroy yours, basically. That's the only logical option. And that is something that is unfair. And the reason that they did the free tax stamps, I think, is for them to avoid having to do something like, well, if we just say people have to destroy them or pay $200, well, then we're going to have to buy those pistol braces back from people at a fair market price. And that would cost a lot. Just the state of California alone, how much do you think that would cost the federal government to buy back all those pistol braces that they couldn't register? That's why they're giving away free tax stamps. It doesn't cost them anything to give you a free tax stamp. It's like maybe, $1 for the paper and the time it takes to issue it? Maybe $10 total. Imagine if they had to go around and pay $200 for every pistol brace that they confiscated or was turned in. Like every person who took and turned in a pistol brace saying, I can't register this, and I can't afford the $200. I can't get a tax stamp in my state, and I can't afford to write a check for $200 to get it done. So you have to buy it back from me. That's what they're trying to avoid with the free tax stamps. That's one thing a lot of people forget. So people in states, because of the free tax stamp, people in states where you can't get the tax stamp are being screwed. And the government's well aware of that. In my state, like I said, where we have a assault weapons ban proposed every year, even if I fill out my Form 1 tomorrow and that passes, like I say, hopefully it isn't, like always, but if it did, well then all the Form 1s that are in the pipe would be rejected. You'd be told, no, you can't. You'd have to destroy your brace or put it on something compliant, which is stupid. So you would just have to destroy your brace, just like people in other states that have assault weapons bans. Now, you wouldn't be a felon. That's a bunch of garbage. People are like, you'd be a felon overnight. No, you wouldn't. You'd just be non-compliant and you'd have to become compliant. You'd have to take the pistol brace off and destroy it if you had it already, Form 1 and got rejected. You'd have to say, okay, now I can't have the pistol brace on it. You'd have to destroy the pistol brace, like I said, or put it on something compliant. You just couldn't legally make an SBR. Now, like I said, everyone in every state has the option to be non-compliant, and I'm fine with that. And in fact, if you did that and you got in trouble, I'd be the first person to help you pay your legal fees. Maybe we could take down the NFA. But Those would be your options: destroy the brace or be non-compliant. And not everybody's talking about that. They're not talking about how a lot of states are getting screwed on this, and that's the reason they did the free tax stamp, is so that they could screw these states and not have to pay these people for their pistol braces. Because, when the government makes something retroactively useless to you, they usually have to pay you for that. They can't say, yes, you can buy this, and then when you buy it, they say, nope, you have to destroy it, without saying, we're going to compensate you, or that's a big legal nightmare for them. And definitely a political nightmare for them. So they wanted to avoid that. That's why we have the free tax stamps. And that is screwing people in states with assault weapons ban. It could screw people here in Washington. I forget which state I live in sometimes. But, I'm on the border. Give me a break. I'm on one side of the gorge. Oregon's on the other side of the gorge. So, basically throw a rock from one to the other here. Well, you'd have to throw it really hard. But still, I think it'd probably be possible. Especially if you had a slingshot, you could do it. But off topic now. Let's get back on topic. In the state of Washington, I could easily tomorrow not have the ability to get a tax stamp. And then I'd be screwed. I'd have to destroy my pistol brace. And of course I would do that because I'm a legal, law-abiding citizen. That's my official response. And I assume that'd be your official response too. What we do behind closed doors, that's our business in more ways than one. But like I said, these are the people that are getting screwed. And that's why the government's doing the free tax stamp, to screw people. Because like I said, that tax stamp doesn't cost them anything. But there are people in California, just think how much it would cost them to buy back all the pistol braces in California when they can't get SBR stamps. New York City, I believe, is the same still. Imagine how much it cost them to buy all the pistol braces back from New York. Just New York and California would cost the government a fortune. That's why they're doing the free tax stamp, so they can say, well, we don't have to pay for them because we said that you can keep them and register and get a tax stamp for free even. We're not creating any expense for you. That way we don't have to do anything. It's your state government that's at fault right here. It's your state government. That's why they're doing it the way they are, to save their own asses a lot of money. And they don't care if other states get screwed. Now, I don't agree with the NFA. I think the NFA is completely unconstitutional. Remember, according to Bruin, anything has to pass muster of historic precedent before it can be a restriction on your Second Amendment rights. When in the old days did they ever say your rifle has to be a certain length, or you can only have this many grips on it, or any of that stuff? Never. They never did that. That was the 1960s. That didn't happen in the 1800s or 1700s period. There's no historic precedent for that. That's a modern decision. So I don't agree with the NFA at all. I don't agree with any gun restrictions. I don't agree with background checks or anything. But let's say the NFA is something we have to live with. If they're making this ruling that people are getting a free tax stamp, you have 120 days to apply for a free tax stamp, to make it even close to fair for states who don't have the option to do a tax stamp, well, then those states should be exempt from the ruling. You should be able to keep your pistol brace until your assault weapons ban is overturned, because I think that's going to start happening here shortly. And then once the assault weapons ban is overturned in your state, well, then you get 120 days to get a free tax stamp. That's the only way to make it fair. Every state that can't get them now should have a chance to get them later. And until they have a chance to get them later, they should not be subject to the you have to destroy it or tax stamp it. It's just not fair by the federal government. This is them taking advantage of people who live in restrictive states and achieving part of their agenda by getting rid of stuff without actually saying they're getting rid of anything. Because everybody in California, New York, etc., what option do they have other than to destroy their braces? That's a good big step towards that whole gun control thing. And we just want to get rid of anything we can get rid of. We don't want you to have anything. So that's the real reason behind the whole free tax stamp. That answers a couple of questions here. That answers why are they doing the free tax stamp? And that answers who are the biggest victims of this? And will there actually be people that are unfairly disarmed because of this? Well, yes, of course there will be. Like I said, you live in New York, California, you don't have the option to get that free tax stamp, and you don't have the option of keeping your pistol brace. So if you live in one of those states, like I said, you should be exempt from the ruling. And then if your state gets its assault weapons ban overturned and you're actually eligible for a tax stamp, well, then you should get 120 days to apply for a free tax stamp, just like everybody else had the option to do. That's what I think about it. Like I said, in a perfect world, there'd be no NFA, and this wouldn't be an issue. Wish someone would fight to overturn the NFA because I think it'd be easy to do. But unfortunately, the big national gun groups suck all the money out of the cause because they gather most of the money together, and then they have no vested interest in fighting to destroy the NFA because it's a big moneymaker for them. So they let it stand. They do everything they can to let it stand. And little organizations don't have enough money to do anything about it. If we just stuck to funding our local organizations and then those organizations could work together, each with their own pocketbook instead of just one big giant pocketbook we have to have hope that, Monty will open it up and give us some money out of. If we all had our own wallets, on a state level, we could come together, 2 or 3 of us, and do what we wanted to do. So I don't like big national organizations that just suck all the money out of the communities and then don't really do anything except for profit, profit, profit. So that's like I said, the real victim of this. That's why they're doing the tax stamps. Hopefully we can get rid of the NFA someday. Hopefully, everyone who chooses to get a tax stamp will get one, and hopefully the assault weapons bans will be overturned, and hopefully all that stuff. But right now, like I said, those are the real victims, and that's why the federal government is doing what they're doing. A bunch of stuff you've been fedding for. Fedding. Fedding's not a word. Hey, forgot who I was there for a second. About the new pistol brace laws. Not laws, rules. Possible thing that we have to deal with. So, God, or not actually law. If they made this, God damn it, why do I keep saying law? Put it on, and even if you did, that's my security system over there telling me there's motion detected. Even if, I'm not going to stop because of that. Got one choice. Get rid of your pistol brace. Yeah, motion detected, gym class studio. I am going to start over now because that fucked me up.